I don't think I need two. Zane, my hands warmed up.
All right.
They're not cold anymore. Shook his hand before service. My hands were like ice. He said, your hands are cold. I said, yeah, and I'm sweating. David says I'm wired wrong, but oh well. What does he know? Why don't you pray?
Gracious Heavenly Father, God, we thank you for another opportunity to be in your house. Thank you, Father, for your spirit, your grace, and your mercy that is so evident around us each and every day. Father, we thank you for that. Thank you for your salvation. Thank you for your hand of protection. Thank you, Father, for everything. God, we come to this part of the service, anoint our minds and our hearts to hear. God, I know that your word is anointed, and I pray that your anointing be upon Lisa. God, may everything be said that you would have said. God, may it plant be in our heart. In Jesus' precious name.
Amen. I love it when Alva confirms something for me. A couple Sundays ago, we went down to Rose Hill, and I preached for them. And I'm always so careful. I try to be so careful to make sure that I've got the Lord's will and His message for whoever's going to be there. And so, I'm always a little bit, Father, you make sure this is what you want. So that Sunday morning, I had my papers, my message all written out, lined out, and everything. And their Sunday school teacher, Sister Joanne, I'll tell you what, she is a fireball. I enjoy hearing her teach because she was a professor, they said, for several years, and so she's been teaching a long time, but she loves Jesus. Oh my goodness, it's all over when she's teaching, she's preaching. And I was sitting there, and she used one of my scriptures, and she used another. I looked at Dad and said, she's walking all over my message. Thank you, Jesus. He just was confirming to me. And so I had a couple thoughts, and then he just gave me a complete, different direction for tonight. And I was working it up and everything, and came to the ladies' meeting last night. And what's funny is the meeting was supposed to take place last month, and Juanita wasn't up to it. She'd had her surgery, and she wasn't up to it. So what she was going to do then, she did last night. God knows what He's doing, doesn't He? He's never surprised. He's never caught off guard. He knows what He's doing. She put in a DVD, and we watched. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't know the lady's name. Oh. Huh. Angela Farr. She spoke at P-H-A-R-R. She spoke at a Women of Joy that you went to, right? And that's what Juanita showed. And I sat there, and after it was over with, and Juanita said something about, I hope you enjoy it. I said, well, you ladies that are here, you're going to get some of this tomorrow night. I promise you, I'm not copying, but thank you, Jesus. He just confirmed what He wanted said tonight. So I love confirmation. And I can tell you what, this tonight is, he has preached to me as much as, I don't know, if it's not for anybody else, this is for me. So just enjoy, try to get something out of it, because it's, like I said, it's for me. I hope that it's for somebody else, but I know it was for me. David has told the story before that when he, I don't know, it was a few years ago, he said he was praying one night, and he asked God, he said, Lord, how do you see me? Don't ask God a question if you don't want the answer, because He will be bluntly honest with you. And he said God told him unfulfilled potential. And tonight, the message that He gave me is facing your potential. So it's what I want to talk about tonight, some potential. So what exactly is potential? Anybody that's heard me talk more than once knows that I like my dictionary and I like my thesaurus, right here. Potential, according to Webster's, that can come into being, possible, latent. I thought, latent, what is that? So, of course, I have to turn over and look up latent. I like this one. This is a good one. I actually sat and cried when I read it because it opened my eyes to how Allah sees me. It brought a new, there you go, new revelation. Latent means lying, hidden, and undeveloped in a person or thing. Oh, whoa. Lord, what have you hidden in me? What's lying in there, undeveloped, latent potential? And I just like that. And like I said, I just sit there and I just wept and I thought, Lord, I don't want it to be unfulfilled. I don't want it to be latent. I want it to come to fruition. And so that's what I wanted to talk about tonight. And then, of course, then I get my thesaurus out, potential. Sure can't read the thesaurus without these things. Potential, in the thesaurus, another word for it is dormant. But it also said, see likely. So I turn over here and I look up likely. Probable, credible, possible, feasible, conceivable, reasonable, workable, attainable, achievable, believable, thinkable, imaginable, plausible, expected, imminent, true, acceptable, on the verge of. I liked that one. All that potential that's been lying dormant is just right there on the verge. What is Father fixing to do? What is He about to do? All that potential is about to come to fruition and in favor of. So, I brought me some little items here, down here on the table. Everything is created for a purpose, even us. We're created for a purpose. And these little items here on the table, they all have potential. As long as they're laying here, that potential is dormant, and they're not doing anybody any good. This lovely little hat right here, it has potential to keep the sun off my head if I'm out at a ball game. Besides, just make me look cute. So, potential right here. I was cleaning in the bedroom one day, and I started pulling out notebooks and pens and stacks of paper and little butterflies. I collect butterflies. So if I go and I see a notebook with a butterfly, I gotta buy it. Doesn't matter that I already have 20 at home, I gotta buy it. So I had them all spread out on the bedroom floor, and David walks in, I looked up and said, my name is Lisa and I have a problem. So there's lots of potential in my bedroom with paper. They are. Well, not all of them. I've started using them, and this little ink pen. But you know, you gotta click it. So sometimes we have to do something to make something, to bring up the potential. Like my glasses. If I hadn't put them on, they wouldn't have done me any good. I could have let them sit right there, and I still couldn't have read. Good grief, the thesaurus. That's hard to say. the thesaurus. Okay. They've got potential, but only if I take them out. I've got to open the thing, take them out, and put them on. Or else they're not going to do any good. Yeah. Some things have potential to do harm, along with do good. I have scissors in practically every room in my house. I like to sew, I crochet, I'm a crafter, so there's always scissors. The kids will say, where's the scissors in this room? Well, they're over there in that drawer. And, cut material, cut my yarn. They can also do some damage. And they could be used as a weapon. We don't use them for that in my house, but they have been used as weapons. And these are really not all that, these are like paper cuttings. Okay. Do not get my material cutting scissors to cut paper with.
Amen.
No, any seamstress will tell you that because it dulls your scissors. And if I see somebody with my material cutting scissors headed to paper, I say, Huh? There you go. I have paper paper cutting scissors and material cutting scissors. So there you go. Yeah. And my trusty little flashlight, what good would it do in the dark if I didn't turn it on? Oh, let me see. Look here. This one's really cool. You can do that, or you can do that, make it different, or it'll do that, or it'll do that. Look at all the potential this little bitty thing right here has. But you know what? When the battery goes dead, it won't do any of those things. And I have to take the lid off, take the batteries out, put new batteries in, and then it's full of potential again. Sometimes we got to recharge our batteries. Right here, this candle, I could leave the lid on this candle like this, and it's not going to do anybody any good at all. It's just sitting there full of potential, latent, good smelling. Yeah, it smells good. It's like apple cinnamon or something like that. Here we go. Now, it's serving its purpose. Make this house smell good or whatever, I want it for. Got some gloves, and when I go out in the wintertime, I don't forget my gloves because my hands get cold, don't they, Zane? Yeah. And in the wintertime, they don't warm up, and when my hands get cold, I just stay cold. And so there's been a time or two when I left them in the drawer, they didn't do me any good. So I don't forget them anymore. And then the bag that I brought them in, I brought all this stuff in. It's just a bag. What good is that? It's good because it brought all of my stuff in it. So they all have potential. But they all had to be put to use. Or what good are they if we don't use them, if we don't take advantage of what they were created for? What are we created for? I want to turn to Matthew chapter 5. Everybody should know this. I think, Pastor has kind of adopted this as our church's scripture. Chapter 5, okay, where'd they go? Yep. I'm going to start reading in verse 13 and read through 16. You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt loses its flavor, how shall it be seasoned? It is then good for nothing but to be thrown out and trampled underfoot by men. You are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hidden. Nor do they light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a lampstand, and it gives light to all who are in the house. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. We're the salt of the earth. I like salt. Anybody else like salt?
Amen.
Yeah. David, he's lucky he still got me. We were just dating, and we were dating, and we went to eat at Brahms one day, and I took the top bun off my burger, and I sprinkled my salt, and he looked at me. He picked up my hamburger patty and beat it on the table. That's too much salt. Well, like I said, he's lucky he still got me. So I have toned down the salt usage a little bit because I like to taste it. Of course, I've gotten too much, and it's like, whoa, too much salt is not a good thing, but I do like me some salt. But we are the salt of the earth. And it says, but if the salt loses its flavor, how shall it be seasoned? It's then good for nothing but to be thrown out and trampled underfoot by men. We're the light of the world. And there were times when the electricity would go out, have a storm or something like that, and we're out in the country, electricity go off, and I think the longest we were ever without was like 10 days. I had candles all over the house. When it goes to getting dark, I would take my trusty little candle lighter and I'd go all around the house lighting these candles. Because what good would it do have the candles sitting out and don't ever light them up? They still wouldn't do me any good. They wouldn't benefit me. Are we being a light to this lost and dying world? Are we fulfilling the potential, what Christ has called us to do? Every person here is called to be a witness. If you are a Christian, you are called to be a witness. Every single one of us. We are called, we are chosen by our Father. And He has given us a work to do. He has given each and every one of us potential. We all talk to somebody every day. Probably not a day goes by that we don't talk to somebody. We have a phone. We can talk to somebody. We can share Jesus. That is what we are put here for, to share Jesus. What pleases Him more than us witnessing and sharing Him and sharing His love? That's what we're here for. What good does it do us to go out into that world? And we have the answer. We have what they need. But if we don't let our light shine, then it's no better than leaving that candle sitting there on the counter and never lighting it up. And it getting dark at night, stumbling through the house and tripping over the couch or whatever because there's no light on. And that's what's going on in the world right now. People are out there and they're stumbling over the things, their couches and ottomans and things like that because we're not out there shining the light. We're not fulfilling the potential that Christ has put in us, what He has called us to do. Each and every one of us is called to be a witness. Amen. He didn't save us to sit on a pew. Always given each and every one of us something to do. We must share Jesus. The Great Commission in Matthew, when He says, go into all the world, preach the gospel. And there's another place where I believe it says, go into the highways and byways and compel them to come in. And I was talking about Sister Joanne, and she was talking that morning about people that she knew that used to come to church, and she was telling them, she said, we got to invite them. We got to get them in here. She said, they probably got to where they don't even want to come to my house. She said, because I'm going to tell them about Jesus, and I'm going to tell them, you need to be in church. They need to be in church. But how do they know if we don't tell them? How will they hear if we aren't telling them? How are they going to know if we're not the ones out there sharing Jesus? And the Great Commission, where it says, go into all the world. So many times we have it in our mind like, that's missionaries. I'm not called to Africa. I'm not called to Mexico. I'm not called to go to India with Brother Thomas. No, but I would be almost willing to bet that we've got a neighbor that doesn't know Jesus. That we work with somebody who doesn't know Jesus. That's a mission field right there. Anytime you go to Walmart, probably 90% of the people that are going to be in the store the same time that you are don't know Jesus. Do we invite them to church? Do we just say, smile and say, Jesus loves you? Just share. Just share. Fulfill that potential that He has given us. I was thinking about my mama. People might look at her and think, well, what did she do? How did she contribute? She was one of the most successful people I've ever known in my life because she fulfilled her potential. She did what Abba called her to do. She wasn't called to go to a mission field. She wasn't called to stand up here and teach or preach or any of that. But she did exactly what God told her to do. She just loved Him. She sang whenever she had a chance. She was here. I've heard people say, well, I'm just a lay person. Don't say just a lay person, because you are necessary. He talks, about the body fitly joined together. I broke my little toe last year. Let me tell you, that little toe is important. I mean, it hurt. I still have problems with that thing. And it's been, 8, 9, 10 months. And it was sticking out like that. I was crying until I looked at it, and then I started laughing because it looked so funny, and then I'd cry because it hurt again, and then I'd laugh. But it was important. It was really important then. That was the most important part of my body at that particular time, because it was hurt. That's right. It was hurting. Right now we have the Gillespie family, and they're hurting. And they are important. Maybe they don't preach. And Norma and Scotty, they both teach Sunday school class, and they're there's silent members a lot of times, but they're important, and I miss them when they're not here and they're hurting right now. And don't ever say, all I can do is pray, because that is the most important thing that we can ever do for someone. And if you think, oh, I don't know what to pray for me. Okay? Pray for me. If you run out of things to pray for me.
Amen.
And when I've discovered when I start praying, the Lord just leads me on to one thing. And I go through, I try to see where people are sitting and call out their names and try to remember where they are. And then as like David has said, he'll go by in Viro and he'll pray for everybody there. And when I come to, like when I'm praying for Juanita, then I remember her prayer requests. And Sarah and her family, and I pray for them. Sister Janice, I pray for Brother Ken. And I come on around, and Suzanne's boys, and I pray for them. And Dean's boys, and I pray for them. And I get over here, and I pray for April. And I hold her up. And that is fulfilling potential. That is something that He has called every one of us to do. Every single one of us in here is able to pray. And if we are not praying, then we are not fulfilling our potential. We are not living up to what Abba has called us to do. Each one of us, like I said, we're all important. But I believe with all my heart that there are, I don't want to say greater callings, that's not what I mean. Different callings. Different. Not greater, not more important, but different. Like Pastor, that is his calling. And he is fulfilling his potential. And God has given him a vision for our church. And I know sometimes I'm sitting over there and he's talking about these different things, and he'll say something like, well, I can't tell you everything because it'll blow your mind. I'm saying, tell me. Because I can see it. And I'm like, yeah, go. Let's do it. Let's do it now. And, sometimes David has to say, hey, rein it back a little bit, Lisa. I always said I was a dreamer, and I can see these things. And I know God has birthed some things in me. And I can see them in my mind, these things and different things that He has called me to do. And I know I'm not fulfilling my potential. I know that. And I'm trying to get better. But I can relate to Pastor when he talks about these things. And I thought of the movie Field of Dreams, as if you build it, they will come. And I know I've said this here a time or two before, but Seminole is about to explode. Yes. It is going to explode. And we need to be ready. We need to be ready as a church. We have to be ready. But as individuals, we need to be ready. Because when we get out there are going to be people come just out of curiosity. Just out of curiosity, they're going to come. They're going to see, hey, that used to be a bar. It's a church now. And so they're going to come out of that. And there are going to be people who are going to come because they've heard different ones of us talk about our church and what we're doing and everything. So they're going to have that, let's just check this out. Let's see attitude. And they're going to come. We need to be ready. Because there are going to be people that are going to come that maybe I've never been through what they've been through. But maybe Doug has. There'll be some soldiers come. Doug, that you can minister to. Mark, you can talk to, that you can minister to because you've been there. And you understand what they're going through. And there are going to be widows come, Sister Janice. Young widows, April, that y'all are going to be able to minister to. We got to be ready. We have to be ready to meet these needs when like they say, what is it? I can't think of the phrase. The more people we have, the more problems. What's that phrase? Anyway, that higher level, bigger devil. Something like that. Yeah, that's it. We got to be ready. We have to be ready as individuals to be able to minister to the needs of these people when they come in. They might see something in us, or maybe they've seen us, like at Walmart or somewhere, or wherever, like David, a phone man, and he witnesses when he's out, goes into somebody's house. He'll call me and he'll say, well, I just spent 30 minutes at this house. The job only took me about 10, but I was standing there talking. He said, I invited them to church, and they just needed to talk. And so he would do that. And there'll be people come in that might see him and say, hey, we run into people all the time, and they'll come up and start talking to him and walk off and say, who's that? Customer? I don't know. He can usually tell me where they live, might not always be able to tell me their name, but he can tell me their phone number. So, but we have to be ready. And as a church, we have to be ready. Together. In unity, we have to be ready. And we have to stand behind our pastor and hold him up. And as he then is fulfilling his calling and his potential, when he comes to us and he needs us, we got to be ready. We've got to be to the point where, okay, yeah, I can do that. Maybe we've never done it before, and it's not something that we maybe even want to do, but it needs to be done. Okay, Pastor, I'll do that. He might say, until I can get somebody else, will you do this? Okay, step in, and we have to do it. We've got to be ready. God has given our pastor a vision. Can you see that vision? Are you able to picture it in your mind? Us sitting out there in our new church, full of people, 300 or 400 people, standing up, praising God. Yeah, worshiping our Father right along with us. And there will be some that we might look at and think there might be a little less desirable than what we normally would associate with. But you know what? They have a soul. And Jesus died for them just like he died for me. He gave his life for them, and he loves them just as much as he loves me. And I like to say I'm his favorite. You know, my Abba, I can be his favorite, but so can all of his children. He's the only parent that can honestly, all of his children are his favorite. I have favorites at one time or another, you know, whenever one of them is, misbehaving. Well, they're not my favorite. But it doesn't matter to him. It doesn't matter if we're misbehaving or not. We're still his favorite. And he loves them just as much as he loves us. We can't show favoritism or respecter of persons. We have to love everybody and accept them in. And I know he's talked about before, what if somebody comes in that's high on drugs? What are we going to do? How are we going to accept them? What if a lesbian couple comes in? Are we ready for that? Can we minister to them? Can we hug them and love them and welcome them and let Jesus change them? Because we can't, but he can. And sometimes we have to love them through what they're going through until he makes the change and allow him to do that. And what I was saying earlier, I believe with all my heart, and I know I'm one of those. He birthed something in me years and years ago. And circumstances, whatever, one thing or another, I have not reached that. I've not done what he told me to do. And it's still in there. And I've tried, there's been times when I've tried to, oh, Lord, I can't do it. I just can't do it. And I turn my back and I try to forget about it. And I go about my business and living life. And then something happens and it sparks and it just stirs up again. I'm like, okay, Lord, you make the way. You provide the way. And I'll do it. And I think there are some of us in here that he has birthed something in you, and maybe now's the time to just step up, step out, and fulfill that potential. Listen, answer that call that he has called us to do. Why are we not seeing more? Why are we not living up to our potential? Jesus said in John 14:12, he that believeth in me, The works that I do shall he do also, and greater works than these shall he do, because I go to my Father. He said, greater works.
Amen.
Greater works. We're supposed to be doing greater than he did. I personally haven't seen a miracle in a long time. Why not? I'm a Christian. I am. I read my Bible and I pray and I believe, I have faith. So why am I not? Jesus answered in Matthew and Mark when he said, and I know here he's talking about the casting out the demon of the young man. He says, this kind cometh not but by prayer and fasting. And myself, I do not pray as much as I should. I know that. And I don't even remember the last time I fasted. And that's a shame. I should be embarrassed to admit that. But are we? Think about it. When was the last time we pushed away from the table? Do we set aside a time for prayer? Do we pray every day? This right here is our greatest weapon. You're not going to see a soldier go into battle without his gear, right, guys? The whatever, I don't know, whatever rifles or whatever it is that you need for the situation, you're not going to go into battle without those. When we get out of bed in the morning, the battle starts. Believe it or not, the battle starts. Satan is coming against you. We may not always see it, we may not always feel it, but he's there. And he's coming against you. He's the one that whenever I think, oh, I'm going to use, it's my prayer time, I'm going to go to my craft room and I'm going to pray and the phone rings. Oh, well, I got to talk to them. That's the dentist office. And then so I talk to the dentist office, and while I'm talking, I get busy doing laundry and everything. And 3 hours later, I'm like, oh man, it's life. I know, I understand that, but he has got to be my priority, number one. And he's not. He's not. I'm reading now in Jeremiah, and as I read the Bible, I do get ashamed because we are so far removed from the relationship that God wants to have with us. That the first thing when we wake up in the morning, hello, Abba, how are you today? And the last thing before we go to bed at night, good night. Thank you for this day. We don't do that. We don't do that. He is not on our mind. When David and I first met, I know I was on his mind all the time. He tells me I still am. But because there was a newness to the relationship. And I would, I'd get up and I'd think, well, wonder what he's doing now. And I'd call him and, miss him throughout the day. And it shouldn't wear off. And that should be our relationship with our Father. It should never wear off. It should always be brand new. First thing in the morning, it's like, oh, there you are. I missed you while I slept. Because my mind, I couldn't have my mind on you. But thank you for being here. Thank you for waking me this morning. And I was thinking Daniel and Paul, Martha's sister Mary. Jesus was their priority. He was the most important thing to them. More important than the cares of life. More important to Mary than going about the business of waiting on people. Yeah, we have we have life. Yeah, we have to live life. David has to get up and go to Southwestern Bell every day because they're not going to give him a paycheck if he doesn't. If they don't give him a paycheck, we're not going to have food. And so he has to do these things. Well, AT&T, excuse me. Okay, AT&T. And even though we have to go about these things and we have to do these things, I've got to do laundry because my family doesn't want to wear dirty clothes all the time. Jesus can still be my priority. He can be number one. First thing I think of when I get up in the morning, what do you want me to do right now, Lord? I've got to do laundry today. Please help me have the time to do that. What do you want me to do? And He will make time. I have discovered that as I put Him first and I give Him the time and I'm getting in my Word and I'm reading and I'm praying, He gives me time to do the things that I need to do. He makes sure, if it's something that needs to be done, He gives me the time to do it. My days last so much longer. And I'm lay in bed at night thinking, wow, I accomplished a lot today. Yesterday, let's see, I did laundry, I cleaned the kitchen, I mowed the whole entire yard. It's like, woo! And then I came to ladies' meeting last night, and so he gives me the time to do the things that need to be done. The necessary things. He makes time for those. When I make time for him, he makes time for me. He's always there for me. And he gives me the time that I need to accomplish the things that I need to accomplish. So I want to challenge you, and I was thinking of, I think it's Christmas Story, and all the little boys, it's wintertime. Don't do what they did, but, you know, I double dog dare you, a triple dog dare you. Don't stick your tongue to a frozen pole. But I challenge you, look in the mirror, see the potential. Ask Abba what he sees in you. And Sister Joanne said this Sunday morning, and I liked it. A Christian is someone who keeps the faith. He just doesn't keep it to himself. I liked that. I thought that was pretty good. And Irma Bombeck said, when I stand before God at the end of my life, I would hope that I have not a single bit of talent left and could say, I used everything you gave me. I want to be used up. I want to be used up for my Lord. I want to stand before him, and I want to have crowns to lay at his feet. And to be able to say, Lord, I did it. Whatever you told me to do, I did it. And I want to be able to have souls coming up to me and say, I'm here because of you. I'm here because you witnessed to me. I know you prayed for me. I've got a cousin several years ago, and he was a little bit older than me. He was my Aunt Thelma's baby boy, but I always felt a closeness to him. And I know I must have irritated him half to death. He was kind of wild, and he would, you know, he would go out and drink and stuff like that. But every Sunday morning I'd call him, Jimmy, you going to come to church this Sunday? Oh, I don't know. I maybe next Sunday. So next Sunday I'd call him, Jimmy, you going to come to church this Sunday? I don't know. Every Sunday for a long time I did that. He never did come. And he has since passed away, but they told me that he did get saved, and I hope maybe I had something to do with that. I hope and pray I had something to do with that. Max Lucado said, our prayers may be awkward, our prayers may be feeble, but since the power of prayer is in the one who hears it and not in the one who says it, our prayers do make a difference. So our prayers are never too feeble or too weak. They always matter. They matter. It's important that we fulfill the potential and ask the Lord, what can I do today? What do you want me to do? And he may have called you to something bigger than you think is possible. But he will empower you. Let me find that again, what she said. And if I read it or not. God will empower you to do the assignment he has called you to. Philippians 4:13 says, I can do all things through Christ. Not in my own power. What he has birthed in me, I can't do by myself. I know that. That's why it's not done yet. Because I can't do it by myself. But through him, he will enable me. He will give me what I need to do that. He will give me the resources. He'll give me the smarts that I need to do that. Whatever he has called us to do, he will enable us. He will empower us. Oh, there's a scripture, and I was going to write it down, and I forgot what it says. He will give you the power to do what pleases him. That was in the NIV. I'm believe, translation, or New Living Translation. I like that. And what pleases him more than us sharing his love? What pleases him more? Does anyone need prayer tonight?